Church Ward and Massey and Godfrey Higgins and
day
their
on time.
scholarship,
That's right.
it was game on. And when I got through, they invited me back for a second show. But the reason I truly like Church Ward is not only is he a medical doctor, the head of the Royal Surgeons in England, a past master, okay, a archaeologist, and a student of Gerald Massey. But he's a racist bigot. And here's the proof. This is a picture of Africa. He tells you they know all people on planet Earth originated around the Great Lakes or Kilimanjaro or Lake Mwanza. They know that's the source of all people that are on the earth today. The only person that can make the necessary DNA to make all the people on the earth according to science is an African woman. And this little African woman, the Hutu and the Twa, which are by definition from white folks, a derogatory term called pygmies. Okay? But here's the beauty of it. They tell you and say they know this is the home of the pygmies. That's where Louis Leakey said he found the oldest fossils. Notice that they also know these people are the people that migrated south and became the Bushmen and the Hottentots and the people who built the cone pyramids in Zimbabwe, which means house of stone. That's what that word means. They are also the people that went north down the Nile and created Egypt and the 7 nomes. Okay? Notice they go from pygmies to Masaba to Niletic Negroes is what he calls them. Now, here's the beauty and here's why I love Church Ward. Because he also then breaks off these same people and takes them to West Africa, and now they're the true Negroes. Huh? Same folk, but those of you who went to West Africa and wound up in the Americas, do not try to claim anything in Egypt that the Niletic people did, because that ain't you, according to his racist breakdown. But we do have his other document. The origin and evolution of primitive man. And in this document, he has all the pictures of all these people. These people start out as, like I said, the little Twa. So he knows what the first people look like. He knows that they evolved and got a little fancier and became the Masaba, a little healthier. They started learning about vegetation, started going from elemental people to what Dr. Gum touched on last week, where you went into totem and fetish. That's assigning you with a food group. Totems like in totem poles in India with the Native Americans, that really all goes back to the food source that you're associated with. That's how this all started, was about trying to feed ourselves. They go from that. This is a Masaba Negro, a little healthier. They also have pictures of the Tasmanians, meaning they know you're the ones that went to New Zealand and Australia. Here's the original Twa again. Now, if you look at the side view of this brother, doesn't that look like the side view of the Sphinx? They also know these are the same people they found in Europe. You are the people in Ireland, those little fighting Irishmen. Those are these same little Twa people. Now it's going to get interesting. Watch this. See, this is how much they know about us. Here is a brother and a sister from the first Exodus, knowing this is the first time you left Africa. Look at how emaciated they look. I'm passing these around, just make sure you get back. They call them first Exodus Nilotic Negroes. Now watch this one. Here is the second Exodus Nilotic Negroes, meaning this is the second time you left Africa and went out and started to inhabit the earth. Excuse me. Notice how much healthier these people are? Mm-hmm. Notice that this brother also now has a tool. He has the first axe. Mm-hmm. The axe that they developed from stone. This is the first mason on the earth. This is the origin of masonry. That's why we need to be careful when we're speaking, because they got some real data that we haven't seen. Now, here's the other part. This brother has a symbol on his chest. So what is that symbol telling us? The bottom loop says, I've been in the southern hemisphere. The line in the center says, I've been to the equator. And the horseshoe on top says, I've seen the northern pole star. Now, this brother would be capable of telling you about the zodiac because he's been in both hemispheres to see it. Huh? But the other thing here is, this is the layout for the Vatican today. It's also the layout for Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, this is the kind of information they have. So when we get out here talking, especially in academic circles, we need to make sure that we have the kind of academic clarity so that we can take our show anywhere. And we can back it up academically with their scholarship. That's why when I was talking to you earlier and you were saying that you were teaching out of the Kabbalah, in the spectrum of time, and we just happen to have a chart on the history of religion from my dear friend Dr. Clark. This actually came from Dr. Clark's library. When I was packing up all those books, this was in the corner. Now, it wasn't plastic. Okay? This is on the history of religion. This chart is made by Rand McNally, the map people. This chart not only is pretty detailed, but this chart goes back, what does that say? These are thousands of years. How many thousands does that say?
160.
It's 180,000 years. Okay? Now, the only people that's that old is us.
Yeah.
They ain't no white people yet. Ain't no people in Asia yet. Okay? Now, that's just this part. So I want you to see this. Because this is consistent with what Martinez and Keon have in their religion book. They said all religions in the world came from a real experience from African people that they saw the ghost or the corpuscular anatomy when a person died. They said they saw it leave the body. That let them know there's a life after this life. That this wasn't the end of it. That is the origin of prayer. That is the origin of offerings. And all the other things we do today in religion, that's how they came to be. That is known as ancestor worship. So that's not something we made up as the boogeyman. We were just having fun and didn't know what to do. This came from a real experience that African people did. Now, the beauty of this chart, Jews don't even come on the scene until between 2000 and 1000 BC. Okay? So that's why I asked you, why are you fooling around with the Kabbalah and some Jewish stuff when they damn near the newest kids on the block? You feel me?
You're right.
If they only been around between 2000 and 1000 BC, then I want to know, because maybe you know something I don't know, how could they possibly tell me about the Zodiac? Now, keep in mind, the Greeks are newer than that. We ain't even got down to Greek civilization yet. And according to Santos, who I think is a great scholar, but every reference he makes is back to the Greeks and some Jews. Right. So I want to know, if they only been around for 2,300 years, how in the hell are you going to tell me about something that takes 26,000 years to happen, and half of it is not even in the hemisphere that you're in?
Right.
Huh?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? See, when we know it like that, then you can check even Santos, go, hey, brother, I ain't mad at you, but you need to come back home to Africa. Because if you don't come through us, you can't get this data, bro. You got to be in our land, first and foremost, to see it. And you got to be with us, because we were the only ones looking for it. The stellar cult Africans, according to Church War.
Well, who was the first Jew? Abraham?
Right. According to their story. Abraham is really just another word for God. According to Church War, in The Origin and Evolution of Religion.
What page you on there, Mr. Truth? What page?
Page 148. Page 148 is on the Great Pyramid of Giza, the greatest and grandest religious temple ever built. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is, he says this is built, the most perfect temple ever built, or ever will be built, was built to teach the 7 astrostellar mysteries. And he says this was built by the old stellar cult people of Egypt, the followers of Horus. Now, let's see how old these people are. On page 149, solar cult lasted 100,000 years. That's us telling time by the sun. Lunar cult lasted 50,000 years before that. Now, if you know lunar cult, lunar in symbolism would be the crescent moon and the star, which today you think is Islam. That's really lunar cult, which goes back to the so-called mysterious guy named Moses. Stellar cult is 300,000 before that. So they tell you right here that they have a record of you for at least 600,000 years, and that's after the hero cult, which was 11,600 years before all of that. So if we're going to tell the story of man, we need to start with Eve or Lucy, walk her down the Nile, take her into the Exodus they claim they know, and you could do this for a few 100,000 years before you even go to Asia and become the Shang dynasty. The first Chinese dynasty is the Shang dynasty, which are the Khoi African people, who are little African people that got slanted eyes. You are the same people that go to India and become the Darwinians. We already showed you in Australia, in Europe. So they know you are the people that went out to all these places. Now, here's the question I'm sure that comes to mind. If all these people started out as Africans, how do we get to be white? What happened?